What is a truck? To most people, this is an easy question. If it has a space for a driver and an open bed for stuff, it's a truck. But since the rise of the SUV into American garages acting as both a grocery getter and a short bus, the question of what is a truck has become far more complicated. So of course, our government has come up with a very simple 9-question decision matrix to answer this very simple query. What is a truck? Welcome back to All Cars, y'all. If you're new here, I am John. This isn't a theoretical question. It's extremely important to automakers, and they can fight mightily for their vehicles to be considered trucks by the government. Automakers can sometimes design a car to meet multiple standards to their benefit, but it gets more complicated very quickly. In the US, generally there's 2 standards the fleet of vehicles manufacturers sell have to meet. The NHTSA sets fuel economy standards, and the Environmental Protection Agency sets emissions standards, including greenhouse gas emissions. There are others, of course, like PHMSA and DOT, but we'll focus on the big 2 today. These standards have changed over the decades. When the first gas mileage and emission standards were being introduced, a truck was defined as having a bed and 4-wheel drive. But with the rise of SUVs and CUVs, minivans, and luxury trucks, the definitions have changed. Famously, the Subaru Brat had an open bed to be classified as a truck for emissions, but Subaru added 2 rear-facing jump seats to avoid the chicken tax as an imported truck. Yeah. Later, the Chrysler PT Cruiser was classified as a truck for fuel economy standards, and even though it was a 4-door hatchback derived from a small car, same with the Chevy HHR. Oh, your mom's minivan? It's a truck. The NHTSA generally classifies automobiles as having 4 wheels, under 10,000 pounds gross vehicle weight, and manufactured for the road. After that, they break it down to passenger automobile carrying 10 or fewer persons and non-passenger automobile meeting one of 6 criteria, including having an open bed. Being considered a non-passenger vehicle makes a big difference. Consider the CAFE standards set for 2030. For passenger vehicles, they must meet 57.5 miles per gallon. For light trucks, it's just 44.3 mpg. Considering the EPA as emission standards have tightened and been added to over the decades, so too has their definition of what is a truck. Since trucks have lower standards to meet than cars, it's correspondingly easier for manufacturers to meet said standards. Consider the proposed upcoming GHG or greenhouse gas standards. Once again, looking at the 2030 standards, the truck standards will be 29% easier to achieve than those for cars. Next year, in 2026, they'll be a whopping 40% easier to achieve. So manufacturers are heavily incentivized to produce more trucks. Those standards aren't the final answer, however. The regulations build in credits for the manufacturers, adding various technologies to vehicles such as solar panels or stop-start features. So a manufacturer can test their vehicle, apply the convoluted credits, and find out what their actual standing is relative to the set standards. And not to belabor the point, but the standards are easier to reach for trucks than they are for cars, and you'll note in the previous slide the credits for trucks are many times larger than those for cars. So with ease of compliance and therefore profitability and executive bonuses on the line, it brings us back to the question at hand. What is a truck according to the government? Thankfully, the snappily named EPA 2024 Automotive Trends Report provides a simple 9-step flowchart combining both the NHTSA and EPA standards. So for question number 1, is the vehicle over 10,000 pounds gross vehicle weight? If yes, then it's excluded entirely. If not, is it more than 8,500 pounds? And if yes, then it's an MDPV. Now, an MDPV stands for Medium Duty Passenger Vehicle, those between the EPA's 8,500 pounds and CAFE's 10,000s, and similar to a Class 2B truck standard. An example would be the Ram 2500 Power Wagon Crew Cab. And the next step would be, does the vehicle transport more than 10 people, provide temporary living quarters, transport property on an open bed, or provide greater cargo carrying than passenger carrying volume? If yes, it's a truck. If not, does the vehicle have 3-row seating? If yes, then does the vehicle permit expanded cargo capacity through the removal or stowing of foldable or pivoting seats to create a flat leveled cargo surface? If yes, it's a truck. If not, then next, does the vehicle have 4-wheel drive? If yes, then the vehicle has to meet 4 of the following 5 provisions: approach angle, breakover, departure, running clearance, and front and rear axle clearance. If yes, then it's a truck. If not, is it rated for more than 6,000 pounds gross vehicle weight? If yes, it has to meet those standards. If not, it's a car. Now, there's a couple of obvious flaws here. You could design a vehicle that was slammed to the pavement, intended for speed, and with no real intention of holding stuff in the bed. But per the EPA, it's a truck. Similarly, you could take the Corolla Cross, a smallish SUV. If you remove the seats and put in a flat load floor where the cargo space was bigger than the passenger space, it's a truck. This approach, combined with the fact that fuel economy standards are easier to meet when you make the footprint of the vehicle bigger, yeah, I did a whole video on that nonsense, shows that the government is favoring ways to classify vehicles as trucks instead of as passenger cars. And that is to the detriment of us all. I'll leave the discussion of whether this is corporate interference in government, overregulation by clueless bureaucrats, or unintended consequences springing from bad policy to the comments section below. Thanks so much for being here, and if you enjoyed this video and feel I earned it, I'd appreciate it if you gave that like button just a little smash, and if you loved it, feel free to subscribe for more content just like this. I want to give a shout out to my Patreons for their ongoing support that helps make videos like this possible. Thanks so much for being here, y'all.